Hey 8th graders, this is Miss Parente here, and we are looking at our last and final WICS for the Ocean Climate and Weather Unit. This particular objective is to identify the role of the oceans in the formation of weather systems such as hurricanes. The ocean's role in the formation of weather systems is the first on your WICS document for your essential questions. So go ahead and pause the video and read the passage to answer question number 1. Okay, so now that you've come back and answered essential question number 1, you should have been able to come up with why oceans are important in the formation of weather systems such as hurricanes, especially in our particular area. So what is a hurricane? Let's take a further look. A hurricane is a huge storm that can be up to 600 miles across and have strong winds spiraling inward and upward at speeds of 75 to 200 miles per hour. Each hurricane usually lasts for over a week, moving 10 to 20 miles per hour over the open ocean. Hurricanes gather heat and energy through contact with the warm ocean waters, and evaporation from the seawater is what increases their power. Now let's take a look at this video and watch one live in action.
As huge sections of the fishing pier crash into the tumultuous surf. Whoa! Man alive! Whoa! Way to St. George Island. Wow. Oh man, I'm back through this. Now you know, now you're shooting hurricane. Watch out for the alligator.
Alligator? What? Okay, so as you can see, in a hurricane, it creates a tremendous amount of wind, rain. You could see all of the destruction and damage caused by such an amazingly big storm. So how do these big storms form? Hurricanes are the most violent storms on Earth. They form near the equator over ocean water of 80 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. The atmosphere, or the air, must cool off very quickly the higher that you go. The wind must be blowing the same direction and at the same speed to force the air upward from the ocean surface. As we know, anything that has warm air or warm water rises up, as we've talked about before. Winds flow outward above the storm, allowing the air below to rise up. The Coriolis force is needed to create the spin, or the circular motion, of this hurricane. If you take a look at the picture below, pause the video now and study this video picture in more detail. Okay, now that you've looked at the picture, let's look at when do hurricanes occur, specifically for our part of the world. We are a part of the Atlantic hurricane season, which you see is pictured below. So all the areas in the picture that you see here are a part of the Atlantic hurricane season, which runs from June 1st through November 30th. This is our specific time frame that we would see any kind of hurricane forming in our area in Texas or around Texas. The other type of hurricane area is called the Eastern Pacific, and we are obviously not part of that particular hurricane season. Okay, so let's take a look at our second essential question. How does the Bermuda High affect the movement of hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean? Pause the video here and take a look at how the Bermuda High is so important to the production of a hurricane. Okay, so in summary, what does a hurricane need? When you look at this diagram, you see that a hurricane needs a combination of several factors. Looking at the bottom of the picture, you see a number 1 with a thermometer there. Shows you that the warm ocean water must be more than 80 degrees Fahrenheit. 80 degrees or higher provides the temperature that is needed to start this process. It provides energy for the hurricane and causes more evaporation, making the humid air and clouds. So it helps create humidity and cloud formation. The second thing that you see is that from that warm air rising up, the winds are coming up together with a force of air upward from that warm air rising. Looking up further as you follow the arrows in the picture in the diagram, the winds, for number 3, winds flow outward above the storm, allowing the air below to rise up. Okay, so remember what we learned about before, that hot air rises and cold air sinks. So the less dense air will rise up and the more dense air, or the cooler air, will sink. Okay, then you have number 4 in the diagram. The humid air is rising, making the clouds of the storm. So it's creating a lot of moisture in the air and creating clouds as all of the particles come together. Okay, and then in number 5 on the right side of the diagram, you can see that there are light winds on the outside of the hurricane, and these winds are moving this hurricane and causing it to move in a particular direction. So the winds are what steer the hurricane. So those are the basic components that are needed for a hurricane to form, and we know when it's supposed to occur during our season. We are past the hurricane season for this particular time of year. Ends as it ends on November 30th for our region, and we are not at risk at this point for a hurricane in our particular area of the world. Take a look at this diagram one last time, and this is what I would like for you to do with this. Jot this down on your paper, diagramming and labeling what you see on the screen now. All right, that's our summary for hurricanes. Thanks, 8th graders.